Welcome to the Hello Coco podcast, designed to help startups and small businesses discover unique ways to implement video into their marketing strategies to increase revenue. This show talks about business and marketing tips, video content strategies, and new tech and reviews. As always, your host is Chason, Laing. All right, everybody. So today's special awesome guest is my buddy CHRIS FLORENCE from Florida, who has been a filmmaker for quite a long while, and he's done a lot of freelance and a lot of commercials and a lot of, well, just filmmaking in general. So thanks for coming on, having a chat with me about life and video and marketing and the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, so let's get started. First, just begin by telling me your story. Like, how did you end up in filmmaking? What drove you there? How, you just from A to B, what happened to get you where you are now?
Actually, I didn't go to school for filmmaking at all. I went to school for business, and I was like, I don't really know what I want to be, so I was just kind of like, business pretty much covers everything.
It's probably smart.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to own my own business. I'm not what I call employable. So I'm kind of more or less, I'm a free agent for the most part. And I started doing videos for like in my church, and I was doing it for free. And that kind of one thing led to another. And then I started a marketing company. And that I was doing like video, and I was doing web design, but I realized that I really enjoyed the filmmaking aspect a lot more than the building the websites. I kind of got a little bit burnt out on that. So
yeah, I believe it. Website building is rough. Just rough.
I mean, I still do it, but it's like I do it for myself. I'm not doing it for money for other people.
Yeah.
And so then I decided to shift gears and just only do video. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years, but I've been doing video off and on for about 15 years. I made my first movie in about 2 years ago, just before the pandemic. I kind of finished, I was wrapping that up. And then, and I'm just kind of doing stuff for companies at this point. That's really what brings the money in, is working for businesses and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, what was your experience? Like you said, you did a film. What was the name of that film? And then like, what was your just basic general, like you did a film, and then what drove you from doing more films to focusing on commercial?
The film that I did was called Forward, and it was a science fiction film. I did it because I didn't know if I could. So I was just like, let's just see if we can do this. And I just assumed that no one would ever see it. And so I did find distribution for it, but going into commercial, I realized pretty quick that was going to be the moneymaker. That's what was going to basically pay the bills. And I've done a little bit of money, like kind of gun for hire for like film. I did like a script doctor job, and that paid pretty well, but it wasn't long term. It's just like any other thing. It just kind of was an opportunity that I seized. And then, but commercial, it's like commercial is different because it's not as risky. I mean, as you well know, filmmaking is probably one of the riskiest things you can do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's kind of glamorous. People look at it as like this opportunity because all they see is like what Hollywood does.
Right. They see the red carpets and like the camera, and they're like, ooh, that's all the Instagrammable stuff. And what they really should see is like, all these people are broke. That's what they should really be saying. Everybody here is working for nothing right now.
Pretty much. Unless you're Sony, Spider-Man made like almost $2 billion. So, I mean, that's a little sum of cash, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know any of those guys, or else I'd call them up and be like, dude, how you working me in here? I can do Spider-Man.
Yeah. So there's a practical nature to commercial film, because there's an easy way to like actually get a return on your investment. There's actual like, okay, I'm going to do this for this reason. It's not just an entertaining thing, but I mean, it can be entertaining.
Right.
But actually the most profitable, I would say, ads are probably more entertaining. That's why during the Super Bowl, you have all these really funny videos that come out that during the commercials commercial breaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And actually worked on a Super Bowl commercial. It wasn't a funny one though. It was supposed to be an inspirational one. It's a long story, but the media buyer was working. They were basically saying, how much could we get like a 30-second spot for?
Right.
And I think they settled on, I think it started at like 2.5 million for the spot. And then they ended up settling at like, I think 1.7 million for a 30-second spot.
Man.
So
goodness.
It never aired though, because it's a long story, but you know, those are kind of things that are, I would say that those are more puff pieces.
Yeah.
Those are like, I would say like stuff like Super Bowls are reserved for the Coca-Colas of the world.
Right.
You know,
the big brands, Doritos, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and the whole time I'm thinking as I'm working on this commercial for Super Bowl, and they're like spending you know, over $1.5 million, I'm thinking to myself, I can make like 3 feature films for this.
Yeah. Shoot, give me a couple $100 and we'll get you something out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, but you know, since you can put more or less a value to, that's the thing though. Like a lot of people will pay videographers to come in and film for their businesses, and they may think about as far ahead as, and this is like small to medium sized businesses, you know, mom and pops kind of stuff. You know, they might look at it as opportunity to get information about their business, but they're not really thinking about tracking. They're not thinking about like, how am I going to even know that this video campaign is successful?
Right.
Sometimes they think, oh, I'm just going to post it on social media and then maybe it'll go viral. But, you know, some of my clients, usually I try to encourage all my clients that if you're putting money into doing a video, you need to also set some money aside for pushing that video out on social media. So,
right. Well, these days, organic reach has become really, really near impossible. Like you have to have something really special for it to really be working, because it's almost pay to play now. I mean, no matter what the platform is, it's going to be pay to play. So even if you make the coolest ad, if you're not putting something, like you said, behind it to kind of push that ad out there for you know, clicks, then yeah, like no one's going to see it. Yeah.
And so that's the difficult part. And so if they haven't actually tried to figure out how to track those clicks, so like if they're not doing a video campaign through Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok, but you know, they're paying, you can easily track that kind of stuff, because there's always a call to action that you can build into those kinds of ads. But if you're just simply posting it looking for organic reach, like how are you tracking those numbers? Like, are you able to even track those numbers if you're not using like a designated phone number that you're not using anywhere else?
Right.
So that, you know, okay, we got 50 calls that came in through this phone number because people called off of this video, because that's the only place that people could find this phone number. Then how are you even able to track it? And so I think that there's a lot of people who become a little bit frustrated by that. You know, they expect for a video to kind of solve all their problems in their business.
Well, I mean, that's a great kind of segue into where I wanted to go next. Would be, you know, the areas that you see businesses struggling with marketing concerning video, or areas that might be positive where like they're figuring stuff out. Like how widespread do you think is the problem of, I mean, I've seen that a ton of times where people think, well, we'll make the video and then it's going to it'll solve our problems. And they go into it with that way, not realizing that there's so much more than just the video. So how are you seeing that play out with like your clients that you have now, and how are you going about fixing it? Or is there anything exciting you that is pointing like this is working?
I think the things that I feel like that people need to kind of consider, the things that work the best that I've noticed is that what they call evergreen type advertising. And that just simply means that you're not running a video ad for a specific period of time. Like if you're running a sale and it's only going to last, you know, the month of December. I mean, if you have the extra money to spend on it, that's fine. You know, make a video rather. But it to me, I feel like a better spend of money would be something that's more evergreen, where you can use that video over and over and over and over again. And you can use it in kind of more of a professional, but basically depending on what type of business you're in. If you're a B2B or a B2C, B2C, a lot of times things that really play well are humor, and those can be evergreen, where you can just keep using it over and over again.
Right.
And then, or inspirational type stories where you've got like this customer had this kind of result and that sort of thing. And I think that with B2B, you can still use that same kind of concept where it's like customer testimonial. So those are really nice to have like on your LinkedIn page.
Right.
They're good to have like in more professional settings. Like if you're a sponsor of some networking event, you can always hand that video off to, whoever's in charge of that event. And then whenever they mention your name as being the sponsor, they can play that video. And so being able to try to maximize the uses that you're spending money on these videos, you're hiring people like us to come in and do it. You want to make sure that you're going to get as much as you possibly can of value out of that for your business and be able to use it more than just in a few instances, I guess.
Yeah. Now I'm noticing like a lot that, I guess if you were around the clock like 10 years ago when Facebook was really just kicking ads like no one's business, and like you could dump money on there and almost just get instant return. 10 years ago, that was like working like bonkers. But now I feel like the better investment is almost building out a channel, like your YouTube channel that then you promote on everything. Because I feel like consumers are finding the brands earlier, and they're doing it in ways where they're researching, and it's not as working with the just seeing an ad, clicking on the ad, buying the thing. That's usually not where the intent to buy is. That's usually not how these things are turning around. And so you mentioned some options of like maybe brand awareness style videos, like, earlier in the funnel, things like that you're putting out there that kind of generate value to the consumer long before they're buying. And are you seeing kind of that play out in your end as well?
I think so. Sometimes a video, like you said, isn't really enough. It's kind of like a step along a sales process that you're bringing them through. So, it seems like everybody's kind of gone to landing pages and funnels. Yeah. They hear funnels a ton. Like it's like a buzzword that you hear all the time. And people may or may not even know what that means when they hear it, or they might be misconceptions, but funnels are really like crafted stories that help to springboard off of the video,
right,
in order to actually get someone to take some sort of action that you're wanting them to take at the end of the funnel.
Right, which is either like maybe a purchase or like a download of some kind or an ebook or something. Yeah,
and it would be even better. Usually multiple touches is what it takes to finally get a sale, and those number of touches are actually growing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not, and that's the other thing is like you've got this new iOS 14 update with Apple that's really throwing a wrench into that process, because then now you can't retarget those people because of the privacy mode. So it's like if it's taking at least 6 to 8, maybe even 10, depending on the price point of the product that you're selling or the service, you might be looking at 10 touch points before you can finally secure them as a customer.
Right.
So saying, okay, I'm going to throw one video out there. That's only one touch point. And so if you're not like following that up with either like ads just with images or, that sort of thing, then like you said, it's kind of like if you had like a YouTube channel, sometimes that helps to verify that you're, legitimate, but then that means that you're wanting to do more consistent videos.
Right.
Rather than just like the one-off kind of a deal.
Yeah. Well, for example, like I just did out of curiosity, I polled a bunch of people on Instagram. I just set up a basic, Google Doc and had people go and I was curious on the last purchase that they had done that was $300 or over. And I asked them, a bunch of questions, but the only two that really mattered to me was what was that first point touch for that product that they ended up buying, and then what was the very last point touch. And there might be ads in there or whatever. I gave them all the options of how it would work, and I expected to see a lot more ad centric clicks, or I saw it scrolling on Facebook or something. But ironically, it was over 60% for first touch came from YouTube influencers or podcasts, people talking about it, or from communication channels through their work like Slack, Things like that, where it was just like word of mouth relation, influence, that kind of thing. And their last point in time, like that thing that kind of sparked the memory, like, hey, I want to buy that thing, was in that same boat. It was, even higher. It was like 67% of the people said it was from somebody reminding them or saying something directly to them, or from repeatedly seeing that thing on YouTube. And in between, there was a lot of, like they said, they did their research going to Google. And so Google was still kind of a platform. But by the time they were going to Google to check it out, they were already kind of being influenced. Like they were already looking at that thing long before then. And so the video market for that was huge, because the brands that had videos of that content existing in space already on their YouTubes, on their website, different things like that, were much more likely to generate the sale later, because they had that all in place. And the ads were only about 25% of people that were actually responding to the ads generating the sale. So it was just really interesting how that has definitely been a big change from 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are scrambling to try to figure out how to reconnect those touch points. Because now that is being broken. What's interesting is actually, I ran into an ad personally just the other day, and I clicked on the ad, and I was already thinking about this thing that I was having an issue with. And, I clicked on it. I watched a little free thing in their funnel, because it was a funnel in place. And I got an email follow-up from him today. And it was a YouTube video that I saw like a month ago, or maybe even more. I didn't even know it was the same guy. That's the crazy part about it. Yeah. Is that like, it just like randomly, I saw this guy's ad. I don't think he was targeting me from YouTube. I mean, how would he even know that I watched the YouTube video? I think it's just so happened. But the takeaway from that for me was, I already saw his work and I thought it was really good, but then it reinforced that, where I was like, oh, I've seen this YouTube video before. But if he didn't have that organic channel of just a YouTube channel that I hadn't seen before, I wouldn't have made that connection. And he still would have been a new person to me. I would have been like, I'm still on the fence, on whether or not I want to buy his course, Yeah. So I think that is kind of interesting that, and I heard an interview the other day about a guy who was selling a course online, and, he did like $2.8 million selling this course. And he said one of the things that he learned, that he had to learn the hard way as he was building this thing, was he didn't put enough value in the idea of organic marketing. Mm-hmm. Basically having a YouTube channel. Like he just didn't think it mattered all that much. And he realized. No, go ahead. Sorry. Went on. Mm-hmm. What's that?
No, I was about to cut you off, and I wanted to hear what you had to say. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, as time moved on, he realized that he wishes that he would have started a YouTube channel from the very beginning, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think YouTube has become a huge search engine now. It's way up there. I can't remember, but then I saw an article about it. It was some ridiculous number of people using YouTube to search. And then this year, TikTok is now the most visited channel on the web, period. Like passing Google, YouTube, passing all of it. Like TikTok is the most visited. And it's a video platform. So I feel like if you're not noticing at this point that you should be doing more video stuff, then you're really going to get behind the ball on that. But speaking of that,
TikTok is weird to me though.
Like, it's very weird. It's a very interesting platform.
Like, you'll go on there, and the only reason I started kind of going on there was because I've got a 15-year-old son, and like he's always texting me these TikTok videos, and I'm like, I guess it's my way of connecting with him, Yeah. And so we watch these funny videos together. But like so many times when you have like sorry, I just got a text.
You're all good.
So many times when you're watching like an informational kind of video, it'll cut off like before it like resolves what it is that you're teaching you, and you're like, what the heck was that, man? And I've been trying to like understand, well, like, is that a good thing to do? Like, I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't they show me everything to the end?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's an interesting platform because you can't just assume it's like YouTube and do the same stuff. You have to almost tailor your content to be TikTok specific so that you're hitting that market still in the way that's native to that platform. And so that takes a little more effort than just saying, well, let's just copy this YouTube, we'll make it vertical and dump it over here. Because that doesn't necessarily work at all. And so, but it is an interesting platform, but it's being obviously used. And so I think it's a good place to design specific, even if you use micro content from other content you're creating, if you can just put something on there so that you have a presence, I think it's a valuable thing to do.
And I think that's what people are doing, is that they're dumping stuff that they have on other social media, like maybe Instagram or something that's longer form.
Yeah.
And they're dumping it on TikTok. But then whenever I go into the comments, because I always want to read what people have to say about something like that, where I get very annoyed. Like, I'm like, dude, why did I even watch this video? And the comments are full of people who are absolutely furious because it's like, so what happened, you know? And it's like, and I know maybe it has to do with, you know, it's kind of like that takeaway ask where you're like, you're trying to do the sale, and then you at the very end you take away the offer.
Yeah.
And it makes them want to offer even more. And I'm like, maybe that's what they're trying to do there. I don't know, but there's a lot of people who are just pissed in the comments.
Yeah, I think you should tailor it so that you don't have people. I don't think that would be my approach. But I do think, you know, if you were wanting to see people instantly sharing, it make it very easy on TikTok. And so if you provide a specific type of piece of content for TikTok that goes out in that way, it's very likely to spread. And so I don't have any idea yet quite what the ROI would be for investing in that platform, because again, it would be very hard to do attribution for TikTok in like really way. But as a first touch point, I think it could be really good for that. Like I think it could get out there and but a lot of businesses are not on, you know, they're not really jumping, I think, frantically on it. They've been hearing, you know, it's like, oh, it's a 13-year-old's platform, which for a while I think it was, but I think it's way beyond that now. I think it's grown way, way bigger than that now.
I see a lot of adults on there.
Yeah, it's
different stuff, and
if you're clever, it's a great place. Yeah, it's a great place. A lot of it is
humor, and I think that at the very least, sometimes it can be valuable from a market research standpoint. Like if you're just trying to search certain keywords and like say that you're wanting to know what people think about certain things, just searching different videos. And then when you find a video that kind of fits within like maybe your brand, you can go into those comments and just start reading them all. And I know that seems kind of granular to do, but it's really, it can be valuable feedback without having to actually go out and ask for that feedback, because they're kind of giving it in an honest way. And so it can be valuable.
Yeah. Well, let's segue into, you know, since we're already on this, what would you think are your greatest struggles right now being a, you know, freelancer / commercial filmmaker that you're seeing in the industry? I'm sure you and I can relate to a lot of this because I do all, you know, the same thing. And so, but I'm interested to see, like, what do you think are the hardest things that you're dealing with now as far as making this a business that you are doing and, you know, feeding your family with it?
I think the hardest part is that I've struggled with is getting the numbers to where I need them to be in order to have it be more than just me shooting on a job.
Right.
So having the larger budget kind of stuff, I know that those larger budgets exist and I know they're out there, but you know, I've worked really hard to make cinematic looking images and I've tried, I mean, you've seen my work, I've seen your work. We're both kind of in the same boat where we care a lot about what we're producing. You know, we want people to see, hey, I'm not just this Joe Schmo with a DSLR.
Right.
And so a lot of times there's a lot of like, a lot of give and, you know, I know there's a lot of give when it comes to the budgets and stuff. And I think what I'd really like, what I feel like are the most valuable when it comes to finding certain types of clients are like clients that are going to do more than just one video with me. Yeah. I think that you could do those higher budget videos where, you know, maybe it's like $10,000 one-off kind of thing. And that's great and everything. But if you can maintain a positive relationship with a business owner who wants you to do a monthly, maybe they're a lot cheaper because they can't afford 10 grand a month,
Right.
They might as well hire somebody in-house if they're going to do that. I mean, it's going to be a lot cheaper to have somebody dedicated to video. You can pay them like $3,500 a month, but for a freelancer, if I'm going to provide value for the business owner in a way that they can't necessarily get from maybe from hiring somebody, I can kind of be in a sweet spot on that. But I found that if you have expensive monthly clients, like when I say expensive, like kind of cash cow clients that are paying you a lot of money, when you lose those clients, it hurts really bad.
Right.
And so would I rather have a bunch of smaller clients? So if I lose one of those clients along the way, it doesn't hurt as much because I'm basically crowdfunding my monthly revenue by having a bunch of smaller clients, and, but I'm also providing a ton of value. And so it's kind of like knowing where that line is. And also like, I'm always talking about this with a buddy of mine who's also a videographer. And we're always saying that like, you can get these bigger jobs, but then there's a lot more expectation. What is the net? That's really the question, right?
Right.
Like you can have a really cool situation where you have a lot of gross, but the net is basically still very much you're kind of living month to month kind of a deal.
Right.
And so where is that sweet spot? Where can you find those jobs that pay pretty decent and there's a lot of built-in profit so that you can maybe leverage that and try to keep growing your business? And that's always the hard part about service-based industry is like, how do you grow your business? How do you get to the next level?
Yeah.
How do you not just be a one-man band all the time?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely experiencing the same thing. I think for me, I've definitely had to start switching my conversations from, if I'm trying to convince you that you need to be using video, then it's already almost a lost cause. Like it's not even worth my time. I'm better off already talking with people who know that, hey, we need to be using video and implementing this as soon as possible. And that way I can then communicate to them like the value of not just one video. Because it's like you said, on one video, you're always trying to explain the cost of things, and the actual return on doing a simple video project is usually pretty low. Even when I submit a bid for a bigger commercial, the end up what I would take home at the end of the day may not be that much greater than something small that I just did by myself. So it just kind of, you might be on a crew over here of 15 people, but at the end of the day, it's like the small thing might have paid me the same amount, and it was just me that filmed it. So I feel like I'm trying to get away from that conversation and focus more on the conversation of how can we turn this into a video making machine for the business that we're talking to, and how can we flood their channels and do good content that hits all these different parts of the funnel and so on, that really can help the business in a partner style way rather than just talking to them about individual videos. And I noticed that it's harder to do that. But I feel like my conversations are naturally getting better because I'm doing that, because I feel like they can understand that. Like nobody cares how the sausage gets made. They don't care about cameras. They don't care about what things cost. You start talking about resolution and they're like, they don't know. It's on YouTube. They're like, it's on the website, whatever it is. I don't know. And so they don't care. Yeah. They don't care about any of that stuff. All they want to know is that it's good quality, and then it comes out and gets the job done. And they're like, oh, if you have to try to convince them what those numbers are, it's rough. So instead, focusing on like, no, here's what we're actually selling here is you're selling the ability to, populate this channel or to grow this particular. And when I say channel, I don't just mean YouTube. I mean, wherever the channel is that they're focused. If they want it on their website, or if they want like podcast videos, or if they want brand videos or TikTok videos or whatever it happens to be, if they're dumping value on LinkedIn, these are all channels that businesses can use where video is really great. And so try to focus on that. I feel like my conversations are better, but I still feel like that's a new way of talking, at least for me. It feels to the people that I'm speaking to, it feels like they've never heard this before. They're just used to saying, hey, we need a video. Let's get a video made. We'll dump it on the website. It will solve all of our problems. And then a quarter goes by and they're like, we need another video. And you're right back in that exact conversation, deja vu again.
Exactly. And I think that goes back to the what we were talking about at the very beginning, which was people going into wanting to make a video, but they really don't know why.
Yeah.
They don't really know what they're trying to get out of it. They think they're trying to get more customers out of it, but it's like, but there's no real way of like doing that by like how they're producing, how they're like planning the actual video, like what the subject matter is going to be about. Is there going to be a call to action? So I mean, it's kind of funny, like so many people don't even think that far ahead, where they're not even thinking about a call to action. They just do like this random stuff. But I guess that's why they hire people like us, right? Because I mean,
well, that's why they should. I think a lot of times businesses come in, and it might be the people that they've worked with in the past. I mean, I have no way to know, but I feel like you can utilize people like us who actually know the value. Like I'm a huge goal-driven video. Like if I make a video, it needs to have a goal. I want to be able to measure it somehow to know if it succeeds or not. So at the end of the day, I can tell the person this was worth it because of this. It did this, and we'll know it's successful if it does this.
Right.
And I think that's important. So I don't, if they're just like, we need a video for the website, like, well, how am I going to know, I can definitely get it on there. Are you going to be thrilled that there's a video on there? Does it drive traffic? Is it increasing your conversions? These things are like questions that you need to be asking ahead of time. And that way we know like if it's going to work and be worthwhile, and not just, video does not solve everything if you just come at it blind like that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I have a monthly client, and it's an insurance company. And so we do all humor-based stuff. And there's so many like regulations and stuff that surround the industry that they sometimes get kind of scared. And it's really kind of it's very boring subject matter. And so we try to make funny videos, but the first thing we asked them was like, what are the lines of insurance that you guys offer that provide the most revenue to your company every month in and month out? Because I mean, if we decided we wanted to make a video on like workman's comp insurance, and they're like, well, we don't really do workman's comp insurance. What's the point of making a video? Because they don't actually own, but they said we do auto insurance, homeowner insurance. And I said, what about life insurance? No, we don't do life insurance. And then the third one was just business insurance, liability. And so those are the three, like when we're writing a video for them, those are the three areas that we're hitting. And that's because that's where they're making all their money. And so sometimes if you're making just a generic video that doesn't really target any particular service within, you might be like, oh, well, our company does a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, choose which one is the most that makes the most money every month. And because that's going to give you the better return on investment, right? I mean, okay, so if doctors are like what primarily are your customers, you're not going to make a video and that's going after people who work at McDonald's. You're wanting to go after doctors. And so just being very purposeful, I think is important. And that consistency definitely helps over time. And I think that the hardest part about tracking value and tracking like results is that sometimes you might meet some companies that just want to stay in front of their clients. They don't really necessarily are wanting even like a call to action in each video. They're just wanting for it to be the top of mind. So when they're ready to actually pick up the phone and when they need insurance, then they're going to pick up the phone and call you, not some other insurance company down the road. And so sometimes there's a value there that can be very difficult to quantify. But if you understand what each lead is worth, if you don't want to get too deep into the woods when it comes to how to track all this stuff, just simply knowing how much each lead is worth to you, and then being able to say, well, we got 6 leads out of this video this month. Then you can apply a value number to those 6 leads because you already know what a lead is worth to your company, even though you may not have closed all 6 of those calls that came in. But on average, maybe, okay, out of 6 people, we'll close 1, which means, the math is pretty simple after that, I guess.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think there's a little bit of danger also, because I've run into that boat where there's some people that, look at their video feeds or their Instagram feeds or whatever, and they're like, if we just put the content out, we just want to be in front of your face all the time. And the problem is if you're not providing value to the consumer with that content, it ends up being super annoying and people then tune out. So just because you have content coming out, I think consistency is one thing and you want it. But I also think that if you're not careful with what you're doing, if you're just putting, if you're just smacking people over and over, like here we are, here's the latest thing right in your face constantly, that will turn them off pretty quickly, and then they don't like you. So yeah, you have that as well. Have you
especially
seen
on social media? Because a lot of times people are. It depends on what social media platform. Like YouTube, it's a mixture. There's a lot of people who want to be entertained, and then there's people who are there to figure out the solution to a problem. And so that's why YouTube videos are so valuable from the aspect of solving specific questions. Like if your industry can solve a specific question for the person who's viewing your video, they're going to appreciate you for that, like you were saying.
Right.
But if you're trying to do those same kind of videos like on TikTok, people aren't really there for that. They're there to just kill time. They're probably, truth be told, they're probably sitting on the toilet watching.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
I don't even, I'd be bad. I'm curious. I wonder what the percentage of stuff that's bought on Amazon, how much of that stuff happens from the Golden Throne. It's probably quite a bit. Oh man. Have you seen anything that's going on in the industry where a company's using video that you thought, hey, that was really clever, or that was really cool, I like what they did there, or I'd like to do something like that? Anything pop into your brain?
I've been experimenting with there's this like interactive video that I've been kind of messing with, and they claim that if you can get the viewer to interact with your video, then they'll consume it a lot. The amount of time that they'll take to actually watch your video, because we all assume that people are watching. We have a 2-minute video, they're watching all 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually people are jumping out before that 2 minutes is up. Usually you lose them at some point. That's just kind of the reality of the world we live in. But there's this thing called Interactor, and I bought it because it was not that expensive. But basically you're able to kind of create video segments, and then at the end of each video, there'll be like these call to actions. So it's almost like a choose your own adventure kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So you'll get to the end of video A, and then they can either pick B or C, and it'll take them in 2 different directions. And so they can kind of choose their own adventure based on maybe their set of needs. And so if you know that there's if you're using a product and at some point this product can be used for either A or for B uses, then at the end of your initial presentation revealing what your product is, you can basically offer one of those 2 choices, and then they can go to whatever one meets their specific need, rather than trying to do like a shotgun approach where you're just shooting it out there. So that's kind of interesting to me. I haven't really seen that take off really. I think the closest thing you see that is the end title screens to YouTube videos.
Right.
Where they'll be like, here's another video, and so you're trying to keep them on the platform for a longer period of time. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like on YouTube, they do that. They do that with cards. You can put the little link up in the corner and here's a card. And YouTube really, the algorithm loves those cards. And at the same time, I'm like, does this not encourage people to check off? As soon as they see that card pop up, they're like, they click that, they leave your video, they're watching this other video. And then we left off the last minute of that video. And I always wonder, is that great that we do that? It seems like that wouldn't be the best, but
you would have to be strategic about it.
Yeah.
And there's like a balance between, like you said earlier, where you're wanting to provide value to the viewer, but then there's the selfish portion where you don't want them to leave your video. And so I've heard that cards are important, but I've actually looked at my analytics on my YouTube channel, and I'll be like, man, when they get to this card, they're clicking off of my video. And since one of the algorithm cues for YouTube is what's called view duration, like how much time has somebody actually viewed your video?
Yeah.
Like my view duration is getting cut down by that time when they jump off. And so YouTube's going to just start assuming, oh, well, people aren't interested in what he has to say. They've already got their answer. So, and so it's like, are you screwing yourself by, like you said, like offering these cards in the middle of your thing? And I've deleted cards before because it was just happening too frequently and it was hurting my view duration.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about, I've been experimenting the last couple of videos about, I'm trying to move my cards to the end, like right before the end, because I feel like even though it makes sense to put them in earlier, it doesn't open them up necessarily on a new window where they're going to come back and ever see the end of this video. So why would we do that? So that's
And then when you're ending your video, you don't want to cue you don't want to cue the audience that you're ending the video.
Yeah.
Like you want it to end abruptly, but you still want to have like probably something where you're giving them another video to watch. It's like, if you guys really like this video, I have another one where I talk about the same issue over here. If you want to check that out next. But just like literally don't even just pretend like, oh, I'm going to keep going for another 5 minutes, because they will jump at that point and you'll see your numbers just tank at the very end of your videos. And, maybe that's not a bad thing, but you want to try to keep them on there to the very, very end if you can.
Yeah. Well, let's get to this question, because I've already kept you on here for a good amount of time, which I appreciate. But let me ask you, if you were to start a business today, knowing all the video information that you know now from your experiences, and you were starting a business, pick a business, a muffin factory, I don't know, something. What would you immediately say, I'm going to implement this for sure as a video strategy immediately? Like, what are the things that you think are super hot right now that you'd be a fool to not be doing?
Going back to funnels, I would definitely do funnels. And the main reason for the funnel would be solely to collect an email address. Because as nice as it is to have the YouTube and Facebook and all these different platforms, you don't really have control over those platforms at the end of the day. But if you can collect an email from the people that are on those platforms, watching your content, consuming your content, and hopefully converting to customers, you'll always have their email address on hand, even if Facebook crashes and burns tomorrow, or if YouTube decides, hey, we're going to shut. I don't know why they ever would, but you know what I mean? Like maybe their servers go down and you're like down for like, you're right in the middle of a sale. You're about to launch a sale and you're like, now what? I was going to use, a YouTube Live and now I can't do that. But that would definitely be it, would be a greater emphasis on collecting emails for future marketing. Anything
else you want to talk about as far as video business strategy? Anything that I haven't asked you?
Not really. I mean, I think that video is a powerful tool. Don't underestimate the value of it. And I would say that if you are going to use video marketing to promote your business, to make sure that you do it the right way, that I know it's very tempting because we all have cell phones to just pull out your cell phone and start recording, but you want to make sure that you are purposeful about it, that what you're doing, what you're producing looks good for your audience, and just put some thought into it before you just kind of run out there and just start throwing video at the internet, hoping that it'll do something.
Yeah. Well, very wise words, man. Well, this has been Chris Florence. Chris, I'm going to put all of your contact information in the show notes so that people can see that and reach out to you. And if you're out in Florida and you're looking for somebody who can help you wrangle in your video marketing, Chris is right there. So just hit him up for sure. And anyway, I'll have you back for sure again sometime, buddy. Because awesome, you and I, we've had a history. We've struggled through this thing together for many years now, and have so many more stories that we could go over that we're not going to do. We're not going to do today. The painful ones, the funny ones, we'll have to get into those for sure.
Heck yeah!
But yeah, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And until next time. All right, thank you everybody for listening. That was episode number 1 of the Hello Coco podcast featuring Chris Florence with your host Chason Laing. It would be awesome if you'd leave us a rating and a review, if you'd recommend the podcast to your friends and family. Also, you could visit our website for your video marketing needs at hellococo.agency and follow us on social media at Hello Coco Agency. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.